For me, it becomes as if this empty seat is more than just a representation of the Buddha. It's actually it's almost the source or the root of the Buddha's wisdom itself. The wisdom and compassion arises out of this empty space. Because I say that in part because one of the ways of describing the Buddha is that the Buddha is said to be trackless or signless. So it's as if there is just this empty space in which this full space, this potential space in which the Buddha, this is the space that the Buddha inhabits. So this comes in part as well from the reading of the Heart Sutra. In the puja there will be a text, a part of a text which we'll be reciting. And this text is called the Heart Sutra. And it's a condensation of the core teachings, core wisdom of the Buddha. And in that sutra it says, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. So this apparently paradoxical text is describing not just the nature of the Buddha, but the true nature of all phenomena. This is the key teaching of the Buddha, that everything's empty of any trace of permanent, ongoing, substantial selfhood. Everything is simply a display, arising and passing away, dependent on conditions. So all that we are is simply process. Process arising and decaying. So I realise in opening this up, it points actually to a whole area of investigation, which I'm not going to go down that at the moment. But I mention it just to kind of point really to the futility of trying to grasp the Buddha as something finite, as something concrete, as something substantial, that will conform, that the Buddha would ever conform to any preconceptual form. The Buddha is constantly fresh, constantly spontaneous, constantly arising in ever new forms appropriate to respond with compassion to all life. So this is the real beauty of the Heart Sutra. It tells us if we try to pin down, to fix, to concretize any experience, any person, any communication, any story, any image, we are failing to some extent to truly honour them, to truly honour the person, to truly honour the image. If we fix it in a way, if we predetermine each other, well, we kind of take that, we take the life out of the person. We're not seeing each other in this fullness. And unfortunately, this is true for much of our life. Much of the time, we spend our life observing it through a whole covering of views. This is how I am, this is how you are, this is how the world is. And these things, well, we have to do this. It helps us function on a day-to-day basis. But if we take it to be truth of how it really is, in a way we're diminishing the potential of our life. So we forget, I think we all do it, I certainly do it, we forget that we are kind of creating these views, these shorthand really, for experience. I kind of glimpse somebody I know, and I don't actually have to look at them. I don't have to really take them in, because I already know who they are. I know that person. So I can just, in a way, not even see them. And this is what we do. And actually today, that was my primary motivation for covering up the Buddha, for covering up any imageries of the Buddha, so that we might have an opportunity to meet the Buddha freshly, fresh, alive in the moment. So I think it's important to say it's not that there's nothing there on this empty seat. It's just what this invitation, what this space does, is to encourage us to really open, to reach out into that space. To just be open to what may arise. And this opening begins to soften preconceptions, soften assumptions about the nature of this space of the Buddha. And this active engagement, this curiosity about the seat made ready, the empty seat, well, it's crucial not just for meeting the Buddha. It's actually crucial for any moment of our life. Because this really engaging with the details of life, it really helps to encourage us to open and engage with the actual. And I think this is really, again, very important, that we engage with what is actually here in front of us, rather than engaging with what we think is here or should be here. Just engage with the actual. And this counters an aspect, quite a dangerous aspect of the reading all this Buddhist stuff, particularly the complexities of things like the Heart Sutra, where we're told that everything, in a way, is emptiness. Because that view, although it's important, it can risk then creating a rather nihilistic attitude to life, as if nothing matters. It's just empty. But the converse side of the Heart Sutra is the need to really focus on the actual, focus on the real content of arising experience. Not through preconceived ways of engaging. So there's an openness, you could say there's an emptiness, but we're engaging with content as it is. And that brings this fullness, this richness, so that we really capture the specific shape, the form, the colour, the taste to experience. Because all experience is pointing to the Buddha, the nature of the Buddha. This constantly arising dance of experience is no different to this Buddha seated here. This seeing, this really looking into experience as it is, gives rise to what's sometimes called suchness or thatness. It's a rather clumsy word, but it's that kind of unique quality to experience which this precision of experience gives rise to. And it's a really vital balancing aspect to this awareness of the empty nature of all experience. So the majority of the Buddha's life was spent encouraging anyone he met to see things as they really are. This was his raison d'etre for 35 years. He didn't try to push people into a particular view. He asked people to come back to their experience, to really check their own experience, check and know the impact of different actions on experience, and see what happens within that. So this was his work, really. And one of the things that he did was to try to dismantle our preconceptions. And he described life for many of us. What happens is that we get caught in, he described it as the magician's illusion. So we get caught in these kind of tricks, these dances of the magician creating these wonderful experiences. And as we know, when we're kind of caught by a magician's trick, they appear completely real. So we can get lost in a particular way of being which feels completely real. And what the Buddha does is try to unlock that, try to release us from this illusion, release us from these constructs that we create around our experience. And when we've been shown shown that much of our way we perceive is based on constructs, then it's it's harder to kind of keep ourselves locked into that process. Once we've seen through the magician's tricks, they'll never be the same again. Another way of describing this experience of trying to free ourselves from the illusions is the descriptions given of a person walking into a dark hut. They've just come in from bright sunlight, walk into a dark hut. In the corner of the room, they see what looks like a snake sitting there. And of course, they see a snake in the corner of your hut. The body reacts, responds, there's fear, there's kind of holding back, maybe looking around for something to defend oneself or get rid of the snake. But then as one's eyes adjust to the situation, one notices actually all it is just a coil of rope in the corner of the hut. And that transition from imagining something which is threatening, fearful, dangerous, it just evaporates. It's not there. And this is what happens in our life a lot of the time. We create these constructs of how life is. And they appear real. So what we have to do, what the Buddha encourages us to do, is to constantly look, explore our experience, check our experience, really enter the full richness of the experience.